Hi, it's Cara. Welcome to part 2 of what will become probably 3, maybe 4 of my enormously embarrassing enormous book collection. You've probably seen the last video. Thanks for watching that if you have, or if you haven't, go watch that. In that video, I talked about all the series that I have that I've read some of and haven't finished, or that I have and just have never read. In this video, I want to talk about all those books that aren't part of a series. And I won't go into too much detail about any of the books because I don't have them here. I don't know what many of them are about. Many of them I picked up because they were cheap and they looked kind of good. But from memory, I can't really remember what they were about. But I will run through them, and if there's anything I can remember, I will let you know. And I'll be putting the covers up over here. I will be putting the covers up right here. So we'll start off with The Song of Songs by Beverly Houston. This one was given to me by my mother to read. I think it's a bit of a historical romancy kind of novel. I don't know how much I like it. I don't really know that much about it, other than that my mum recommends it. But hopefully it'll be interesting, and I'm excited to read it. Next on the list is The Book of Joby by Mark J. Ferrari. I got a lot of recommendations from this from my friends. One of the best standalone fantasy novels ever. But I just never got around to reading it. I picked it up at a secondhand sale and it's in good condition. And so I picked it up because I'd heard a few bits about it. It seems really good. I just have to get around to reading it. Next we have Credo by Melvin Bragg, which I picked up at a discount warehouse, secondhand book trade-in kind of place. When I was on holidays, I picked up a lot of these books here, and it just seemed interesting, and the books were about $2 or $4 each, so I was going for anything that seemed interesting at the time. In that collection of books I picked up from the second-hand place while I was on holiday, I also got Lancelot du Leth by Robert J. King, Captain Corelli's Mandolin by Louis Debonaires. Then next I got a collection of books sent to me by one of my friends who was heading off to England and needed to clear out some of her library, and she sent me some books. I paid postage, and I got a little bit of a collection. So some of them here, some of them are a little bit later in the list. I probably won't remember which ones are which. But she did send me the Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver, and Elsewhere by Gabrielle Zevin. She also sent me The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold, and Time's Arrow by Martin Amis also came from her. She's a lovely person, and thank you for sending me the books you didn't want anymore. I will treasure them when I get around to reading them. The next book is called The Stone and the Flute by Hans Behmen. This my mum picked up secondhand and thought sounded really good and the kind of thing I would like. It does sound really good. I just have to get around to reading it. The next 2 books are books I did pay full price for. I just never got around to reading. The first is Fallen by Lauren Kate, and I was excited to read it when I bought it, and something else caught my attention, and my passion that was at the time for the Twilight-esque vampire angels, that kind of fantasy novel, just declined, and I haven't been in that kind of mood since, except for select series, which I've continued since that point, such as the Mortal Instrument series. And I want to eventually read this whole series. It sounds really good, and everyone at the time really enjoyed it. It's not piquing my fancy at the moment. It'll probably stay on my shelf for quite a bit longer, but we'll see. The next one is Airman by Ian Colfer, and this is the same as The Supernaturalist, by the same author as The Supernaturalist. That was in my the last part 1 of this collection. But this one I didn't start. This one looked really good and still looks really good. I got it for a birthday or Christmas and it just didn't get read, sadly. This one I will probably read before The Supernaturalist because The Supernaturalist has been proven not to capture my attention real well at the start. I also have in my collection One Day by David Nichols, which was made into the movie with Anne Hathaway. It's an adult book, which isn't currently getting my attention at the moment, only because it sits at the back of my shelf with a whole bunch of other books I got quite cheap and just hasn't been read yet. The next is Illumination by Matthew Plampin. The Future of Us by Jay Asher and Carolyn Mackler is a young adult novel looking at Facebook and technology, and it's just a contemporary read, looks really good, but I haven't been on a contemporary kick, so I just haven't read it yet. Broken by Elizabeth Pulford is the next thing on my list here, and this looks like a graphic novel slash novel. So it has prose in it, but it does have graphic novel elements as well, and it looks really good, but again, I just haven't got around to reading it. The next is Amity and Sorrow by Peggy Riley. Honestly, don't know that much about this book. My copy doesn't have a very obvious blurb, but the cover itself is gorgeous, which you'll see here, and I really wanted it, and it was cheap. I picked it up cheap, so I bought it, and I haven't read it yet. The next in the list is Moonlight and Ashes by Sophie Masson. Next is A Small Free Kiss in the Dark by Glenda Millard. This looks really good. The next book on the list is Captivate by Vanessa Garden. Next on my list is The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Watton. This book has gotten really good reviews lately from the people I've heard talking about it. I'm really interested in reading it. It looks really good. I just haven't got around to it yet. The Luminaries by Eleanor Catton won the Man Booker Prize this year, and that, I really want to read it. It looks really good, but man is it daunting and man is it thick. So it stayed on my shelf while I have other things in mind. I picked up Wilderness by Lance Weller because the cover looked really good and the concept on the back seemed interesting. I don't know if it's really my kind of thing. I think it's a little bit darker than the normal things I read, but it looks interesting, so I will get round to it at some point. Julius and the Watchmaker by Tim Hehir, I think that's how you pronounce the last name, is a middle grade novel, but it looks so good. Its cover is gorgeous, and I just really love the cover, and I want to read it, but I haven't got around to it yet. The Messenger Bird by Roseanne Hawke is also on my list, as well as Divine Clementine by Hayley S. Kirk. Again, I think they're both contemporary or paranormal contemporary kind of thing. The last book on this part of my list, before we go into this part of my list, is Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. I loved this movie, though it required a second viewing just to understand all the concepts and to get over the fact that you're seeing the same actor play 7 different roles. But the movie was spectacular and I loved it. So I'm really interested in reading the book. It's done slightly differently than the movie, but the concepts and the ideas and the stories themselves are still the same, and I really want to read it. So this should be higher on my list than it is. It really should be. I just haven't got around to it. The next bunch of books are things that are classics that I've picked up either because my mum owned the book originally or because I somehow got a collection of classics that it was in. So we'll run through these pretty quickly. You've probably heard about them. They're classics. So first on my list is the complete novels of Jane Austen. I've read before Northanger Abbey and Pride and Prejudice, but this is the complete collection in a full bound edition that I have. So I really want to read it. I probably won't reread the novels I've read, but I want to read all the rest of the novels in that collection. I also have Lord of the Flies by William Golding, Schindler's List by Thomas Keneally, Les Miserables, I don't know, I can't speak French, I'm butchering that, I apologise, by Victor Hugo, Les Mis by Victor Hugo, let's say it like that. Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, The Silence of the Lambs by Thomas Harris, All Quiet on the Western Front by Eric Maria Remarque, Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte, Villette by Charlotte Bronte, Shirley by Charlotte Bronte, The Professor by Charlotte Bronte. And that concludes my classics section, which sits on its own subshelf. By subshelf, I mean a double layered shelf, and it's only one layer. It is double stacked. 2 of my TBR shelves are double stacked. This last section of things not currently here at my uni room in my possession are Jodi Picoult books, of which I have quite a few. I've amassed a bit of a collection. Some of them came in my package from my friend before she left for England. Some of them I picked up from other relatives when they were passing on their books, that kind of thing. So I don't think I've paid full price for many of these, but I have quite a few. So I'll just run through them real quickly. First we have The 10th Circle, then Salem Falls, The Pact, Change of Heart, 19 Minutes, Songs of the Humpback Whale, Vanishing Acts, and Keeping Faith. I also own My Sister's Keeper, but that is the one book that I've read. My mum recently read Keeping Faith and really enjoyed it, so that if I get round to Jodi Picoult anytime soon, that'll probably be one of the next ones I read, but we'll see. Okay guys, thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon with part 3, which I'm going to have some actual covers to show you, and that's exciting. So I'll see you soon. Bye!